your activities, ensure that you are not left behind when Allah is giving out plenty for those who are giving their time for the activities embedded in Ramadan. Like I said before, I said many activities such as the itikaf we have mentioned. Of course, itikaf is full of a lot of activities. If you can go to itikaf, that one will even afford you the opportunity to engage in all, or if not all, at least many of what we have mentioned of the ways we can maximize all our reward during the last 10 nights. This itikaf, for instance, we can start itikaf if we want to be part of it. As soon as we have finished Salatul Subhi, we can begin our itikaf. It's also allowed as soon as you have finished today's Maghrib, you start your itikaf. So that is how we start itikaf. So when you are doing itikaf, or when you are staying for itikaf, we should stay away from vain talks, irrelevant discussions that are not part of what you are there to do in itikaf. We should ensure that we increase in recitation of the Quran. We should ensure that we do what we call tadabbur, trying to ponder on the meaning of the verses you are reading from the Quran. You can even take a particular chapter of the Quran or verse for your own reflection to get the full message of what Allah is talking about in the surah. So my dear brothers and sisters, it's an opportunity, golden opportunity that is awaiting us, and it is starting tonight. So don't let us be left behind. We urge every one of us to ensure that we are part of those that Allah is going to give plenty to in this 10 nights of Ramadan. Once it is gone, that will be next year, and you're not sure whether you will be kept alive for next year. So the opportunity you have now, why not grab it? Take advantage, decide, and you are going to get where you are going. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us. All these are what we want to discuss with you, brothers and sisters out there. May Allah make it easy for us to get all the reward embedded in the last night of Ramadan. So let me just keep quiet here. Perhaps there may be one or two questions that may allow me to say more when you need. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Kabirullah, Allahu Akbar. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for making the delivery of the lecture easy for our stars. And we say Jazakumullahu khairan to him as well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward him abundantly. We have had a long list of the things we need to do in order to maximize the last 10 days of Ramadan. And of course, the point from which our stars started the lecture is, why do we talk about maximizing the time? And he emphasized and made it known that virtually everything that he talks about are some of the things that we should ordinarily note in Ramadan. But now that we are have been doing since the start of the month of Ramadan. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us and reward each and every one of us abundantly. Inshallah, we are going to take questions and answers. We are going to do that. And I want to believe some of us have questions basically on some things that Ustaz has explained to us. I have some questions here anyways, and I think we have the luxury of time today to make it a sort of question and answer session for the rest of the time that we have before the end of the program. So which is why I'm going to give out numbers to start with for anyone who has questions to ask. Then I also have Ustaz. I have a list of frequently asked questions in this last 10 days of Ramadan. So you can see I'm physically with Ustaz today. So it's an opportunity to learn directly from our scholar in the house. So inshallah, there are some frequently asked questions on Ramadan, Itikaf, Laylatul Qadr, and other things, which I'm going to ask inshallah. But let's start by finding out those who have questions amongst us. Let's have our questions. I'll be taking the counts now from my device here. So if you have any questions to ask, kindly raise your hand. If you have any question for our stars, raise your hand so that I can take note of that. I'll be giving out the counts only once, just once. Yes. Bint Abdul Karim, number 1. You can also drop your question in the chat box in case you do not wish to speak up or use the microphone. So Bint Abdul Karim, number 1. Let's have your question. Bismillah. Bint Abdul Karim. I was going to say Sister Abdul Karim, but anyways, Bismillah. Fadl. Let me, okay, you can unmute now. Okay. Admin, kindly unmute Bint Abdul Karim. Madam Abdullah, please unmute Bint Abdul Karim. Okay, so she's going to be sending the question through chat. She's going to be sending the question through chat, so I'll be expecting that. In the meantime, let me use the opportunity to give us the information that we have for us. And the first of the information is that, as we can see, obviously, the month of Ramadan is gradually drawing to a close. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us and accept all that we have done in it as an act of ibadah. So we want to use the opportunity to remind all stakeholders, Umara, Amirat, and members across board that whatever program we are having, let us intensify them and let's consolidate on all programs that we have been doing since the start of Ramadan so that we can have a proper scorecard by the end of Ramadan. What I mean is some of us still have some little programs to finalize. Let's take advantage of the month of Ramadan. Some of us still want to reach out to our patrons and patronesses, as well as well-wishers. So let us do that. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us. Secondly, the next program we are going to be having, inshallah, the Lagos Intellectual Quiz Competition is coming up. The details have been sent to us. The students will be going on boot camp, and all arrangements have been concluded and sent to the Umara. So make sure you get the details from your Amir. Then on the 27th of May, inshallah, is going to be our youth conference. And the theme of this year's youth conference is the incorruptible youth. The incorruptible youth is the theme. And let us ensure that we participate according to the plans in our respective area councils. Meanwhile, don't forget, in a couple of months' time, we are also going to be having conference. So all members should ensure to play their roles wherever they find themselves, either in the area council or central branches. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us. Now we move to the question and answer segment, which inshallah is going to be a bit prolonged for now. And the first question I have here, Ustaz, is from Bint Abdul Karim, is how do we pay Zakatul Fitr as a student? And I'm sure this question carries a lot of backlog, because there has been, over time, there are always issues of, oh, you can't pay Zakatul Fitr with money, you can't pay it, or as a student, you can't even pay it all by yourself. It has to be your parents. Even a student that gets some stipends from home, or that gets what do they call this one, from the bursary from the government. So we want you to enumerate to us some of the things we need to understand on Zakatul Fitr.
Zakatul Fitr has been made compulsory by the Prophet himself. From Hadith by Anas bin Malik, he said, "Farada Rasulullah Zakat al-Fitr." So and I also saw in Sha'ir that the Prophet made Zakat al-Fitr a compulsory exercise to be done by every Muslim during the last 10 days of Ramadan. Whether you are free Muslim or a slave, whether you are an adult or you are young, or must pay Zakat al-Fitr. So if a student like you observe that my dad might not be taking it serious to pay Zakat al-Fitr on my behalf, that is when it becomes your own duty to pay it on your own behalf. But if you know your dad is going to do that for you, then you may not bother. Otherwise, you have to pay it for yourself because Zakat al-Fitr, like Buddha said, is a tuhratan lisahi wa tu'matan lil masakin. It's going to be a purifier for the fasting Muslim when you pay it, and it's going to serve as food item for the less privileged. So if you are sure that your daddy will do that for you, or someone that you are staying under his care will do that for you, then you may not bother. But if you know that no one will be doing that for you, then that's when you have to pay on your own behalf, just to ensure that you are not left behind. As long as you are matured, have reached the age of puberty, then this thing have to be done by you if you have the capability. But if you don't have the capability to pay it, then you have to refrain. Then you are going to fall within the category of those that will receive it. So what do we pay Zakat al-Fitr?
Yes, how do we pay it? And
we pay Zakat al-Fitr with the food items that are measurable, food items that are popular within our own vicinity or locality. For instance, in Saudi Arabia, the locality of the Prophet ﷺ, what was popular there was to pay with barley, with cheese, wheat, and of course dates. But here, if you pay with those items, you may not see somebody appreciating it. So it is better we go by what we have in our locality. We have rice, we have beans, we have corn, guinea corn, wheat, and relevant one. And we also have gari, we have cassava flour, we have yam flour, ilbo, issue, and the rest of that we can use to pay. So what we take if you want to pay for yourself, just a soha. Soha is a kind of a measure we have in Nigeria. Then we also have it here in Nigeria, but it's very common with the Hausa. We are not used to it in our Hausa twist here. Another estimated measure to soha is 4 mudu, which is corresponding to 1 soha. Mudu is can be found with Hausa, but you cannot get soha, 1 soha or 4 mudu, which is approximately equal to 1 soha. Then you can as well get 14 milk cup. It is also approximately equal to 1 soha or 4 mudu. So, I mean, 3.5 Berika. So that is when you pay it, you give it to the appropriate quarter. People that are collecting it, maybe like Secret and Federal or organizations that are collecting it, like the Muslim Congress or I don't know whether MSS
yes,
also does
yes.
that. So, or an organized mosque where they collect and share it on your own behalf. But that will be paid on or before. As from this, it is allowed that we can pay it as from 21st night of Ramadan. It is allowed. Some said no, let it be a little bit nearer to each, like 25th or 27th. So whichever you do that, but it must not be beyond the time of each. But if you pay it after it, it will not be reckoned as a Zakat al-Fitr. So we have to pay it before each. before we observe Salat to Eid. So that is that.
Now, Jazakumullah khairan. The next is on in seeking Laylatul Qadr. How do we understand that the tradition as given by Prophet ﷺ is to seek for it in the odd night. But there are some caveats to this. Does this mean we should only target the odd nights in these last 10 days in order to find Laylatul Qadr, or we should exert ourselves all through the month? That's one. Or another aspect is some people feel the 27th night, which is believed to be the most likely night of its occurrence. What should be our disposition towards the night in these last 10 days?
Okay, if you get me clear, when I started, I mentioned that the Prophet was reported to be very serious whenever it is the last 10 days of Ramadan. See him not even giving time to other things. The wife also observed that he would not give time for them, because it is a period Muslims have to be up and doing. The month is winding down, but there is still reward, especially one night that is there. If you are able to come across it, you are going to have a reward that is, approximately equal to 83 years and 4 months. You cannot dispose with that. You cannot afford to have missed that. So the Prophet enjoined us to ensure that we are at alert. And the Prophet said, whoever can come across it, his past sin will be forgiven. And he ensured that person, he assured that person that his prayer or prayer will be answered. Now the Prophet would exert greater effort during those nights. It's not only during the odd numbers, all through the night, because no one can stay. It may be deemed for 21st, it may come in 22nd. It may be considered to come at 27th, it may come on the 28th. But the Prophet only give us the most likely period that we expect it. But as Muslims, we must not limit ourselves to those numbers of this. So for those that are waiting for 27th night, no, we cannot do that, because who knows, perhaps it might come during the 23rd. So since there's something hidden there, Muslims are expected to exert greater effort all through the 9 nights or 10 nights, as the case may be.
Another question is that during these last 10 days, we know that we are meant to be in itikaf. This is the most rewarding one. Now, there are some who claim you cannot do itikaf partly. Some claim it has to be fully done. And we have listened from your presentation that you said even if not more than a day. So how do we justify this visit?
All right. Itikaf, I said, is a kind of worship that we do only in the mosque. You can't do it elsewhere. For the case of the Prophet Sallallahu, he was known to engage in itikaf all through the last 10 nights. Even during the last year of his stay on earth, he was able to have done it for 20 days. So it means that it is allowed to be done for all the 9 days or 10 days. But can we do it for 1 day or 2 days or days lesser than 10 days? Yes. If you look at a hadith from Umar ibn Khattab himself, he said, Ya Rasulallah, inni nazartu fil jahiliyyati an a'takifa laylatan fil masjid al-haram. فقال له النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أو في نظرك فاعتكف ليلة. It's told before that during the time I was a non-Muslim in Mecca, I had once vowed to, observe itikaf in Masjid al-Haram. But now that I'm Muslim, can I still do that? The Prophet said, go ahead to pay your vow to Allah. So he said just for one night. So this is to tell us that it is also allowed. It's one of the reasons why we say it is allowed to do it for one night. It's not everyone that may have the time. If you're a civil servant or you're a student, you may not have the time for. But if there's room for you to do it for all the night, that's the best. So this and other reasons are why we said somebody who can want to do it for just one night is allowed. Even it may not even up to one night. It may just for a few hours, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours. It is also allowed. What is important is your niyyah. So niyyah, and we should also understand that itikaf can also be done other than the month of Ramadan. Can be done. So for those who are engaged in a da'wah, or who are students like you, or who are leaders, you just have time. You just have to dedicate certain time for Allah. When you are in itikaf, you are going to be secluded from people. You are going to only focus on Allah. So you have the time to reason, to ponder, to remember a lot of things. You try to observe your flaws where you are getting it right, so you have the time. So I seriously recommend itikaf for everyone, even after Ramadan.
So another question is that zakat and zakat al-fitr, we see that people like to take advantage of the month of Ramadan to give out zakat. Is it compulsory to give zakat in the month of Ramadan?
No, it's not compulsory to delay our zakat till the month of Ramadan. But for anyone who decided to do that, we cannot blame him. Perhaps he wants to maximize his reward, and that is what our lecture is based on: maximizing, the last 10 days of Ramadan. So, but it can be paid in other months apart from Ramadan. But if you decide to pay it in Ramadan, the best for you.
What is the consequence of not paying zakat to fitr?
The consequence of not paying zakat to fitr, especially when you have it, is that you are a sinner. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, obey Allah and his prophet. Whoever does not obey Allah, of course, is deemed to be a sinner. Whoever does not obey his prophet is also deemed to be a sinner. But for somebody who has not got the capability to pay it, even as small as it is, then is as falling into the category of those that will receive it. For those who have the power to pay, let them pay. For a father who has the ability to pay on behalf of his household, let him do so. Otherwise, he will be deemed as a sinner. May Allah save us from that.
I mean, still on that, the consequence as per the fasting that the person has observed, because what we know now about Mama Sonny, okay, is it valid? Is there any credibility to that statement?
Of course, if you trace what the Prophet said concerning the payment of zakat al-fitr, he said it's going to clear away the flaws that we have engaged in during the time of fasting. The careless talk, all those careless look you have, all those ones that may hinder you from getting full reward from Allah if you just clear them away. If you pay it, the best for you. But if you cannot pay because you are not capable, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what your intention is. You don't want to pay, but you don't have the capability. But for those who have the ability of capability to pay and did not pay, Allah will still accept their fasting and will give them their reward. But it is better we do the best so that we get the best.
Now, lastly, sir, on the day of 29th of Ramadan, 29th of Ramadan, basically, this issue of moon sighting and other things, how does it affect i'tikaf? What I mean is, if someone, by chance, had gotten information or had the presumption that Ramadan is going to be 29, like some people forecast that Shaban is 30 or so, is it right to forecast such and plan itikaf in such way? And also, in addition to that, can we leave our place of itikaf, go home before heading to the Eid, or it is best, or it is only permissible to stay in itikaf and go to Eid from there?
Now, if you got it right to start Ramadan, of course, there is no, I see no serious difference in ending Ramadan. The Prophet has informed us how to start Ramadan. So, then start Ramadan when the moon is sighted, and you end it when the moon is sighted. And there's another thing that we have to understand. Ramadan is not like Eid al-Fitr is not like Eid al-Adha. Eid al-Fitr and even Ramadan is decided by every country. Nigeria as a country, we have a Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs. They decided the time of fasting for us, which is good. And they are also going to decide for us when we are going to end it. So I would strongly advise that you as a muttaqi who is staying in the mosque for itikaf, you wait until a body like that who announced for you the start of the fasting should also announce for you that the fasting is over, so that you don't put yourself in undue stress. Then I want to also advise that for those who are returning to the time of fasting and time of ending, perhaps that is another trend, the new trend we are getting now. There are some countries that are beginning their fasting like that and ending like that. But I'm sure in Nigeria, our own is not like that. So let us limit our own to you, because you are Nigerian, we are saying Nigeria. So listen to the legislature that we have in Nigeria. I mean, the Supreme Council of Islamic Affairs. They will announce for you the start of Ramadan. They are going to announce for you when you are end.
And we really appreciate our stars, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless him in manifold. We appreciate you, our listeners, as well, for listening to today's Usrah. And more importantly, I want to believe we have learned a lot of things from today's program, which we are going to be applying right from this very night, which is the 21st night. Stars has told us that we should not be negligent and wait for the 25th or 27th. We should start striving, as the Prophet has been said, to be someone that used to strive more than he would during the last 10 days of Ramadan. So let us ensure that we do this, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless our efforts. We pray for our stars, for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue to elevate him, to answer his prayers, all his secret and open prayers. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answer it. We pray for the leadership of Mssnlagos State Area Unit and every one of the stakeholders. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us and guide us aright. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us all our sins in this month of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala count us among those who witnessed Laylatul Qadr in this month of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala count us among those whom the rope of hellfire will be lifted from their necks in this month of Ramadan. And more importantly, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us all our shortcomings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us and answer all our prayers. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us all our sins. Allahumma innaka afuun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anna. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا اللهم تقبل صلاتنا وصيامنا وقيامنا وركوعنا اللهم اجعلنا من تقاء شهر رمضان اللهم اجعلنا من تقاء شهر رمضان اللهم اجعلنا من تقاء شهر رمضان اللهم أجرنا من النار اللهم أجرنا من خزي النار اللهم أجرنا من كل عمل يقربنا إلى النار اللهم أدخلنا الجنة مع الأبرار برحمتك يا عزيز يا غفار اللهم إنا نسألك بأننا نشهد أنك أنت الله لا إله إلا أنت الأحد الصمد الذي لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد اللهم إنا نسألك الخير كله عاجله وآجله ما علمنا منه وما لم نعلم ونعوذ بك من الشر كله عاجله وآجله ما علمنا منه وما لم نعلم ونسألك الجنة وما قرب إليها من قول أو عمل ونعوذ بك من النار وما قرب إليها من قول أو عمل، ونسألك مما سألك به محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، ونعوذ بك مما تعوذ منه محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم إنا نسألك الجنة وما قرب إليها من قول أو عمل، ونعوذ بك من النار وما قرب إليها من قول أو عمل. اللهم لا تدع لنا في مقامنا هذا ذنبا إلا غفرته، ولا هما إلا فرجته، ولا دينا إلا قضيته، ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا والآخرة إلا قضيتها يا أرحم الراحمين. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. ربنا أفرغ علينا الصبر وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وإسرافنا في أمرنا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. ربنا اغفر لنا ولإخواننا الذين سبقونا بالإيمان ولا تجعل في قلوبنا غلا للذين آمنوا ربنا إنك رؤوف رحيم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.